Now, when we look at what's happening in different parts of the global economy, we can see that the value of global bonds has plunged by another $550 billion in a 1 week period. This brings the total bond losses over a 5 week period to $2.4 trillion. Any gains since the beginning of the year have been completely wiped out. You can start to see now how the economy, together with world events, is placing us into a global collapse. New intelligence reports suggest that there is a concern in the USA, in the government, that Chinese made operational tools, these are things including cranes that are in use across the USA, at American ports across the country, in use by the military, give Beijing a spying tool advantage that is hiding in plain sight. You're going to see a great division very soon between what is China and what is the United States of America. Using official channels, Taiwan claims that it has made it clear to China now that the country, currently backed by the military might of the United States of America, demands that China respect the Taiwan sovereignty and act in a rational manner, or suffer a war. Now, when I warn you on this channel to get more ammunition, this is why I say these things. Every major war that has stalled on the ground has required the use of immense amounts of ammo. Look at what's happening right now in Ukraine as the country continues to call out to America, to the European Union. They want them to send 250,000 artillery shells per month just to ease, not take over, but to ease a critical ammo shortage. Ukraine is warning that it's limited in its progress on the battlefield. In a letter to counterparts in the 27 member states of the European Union, Ukraine's defense minister has written that the country's forces are only firing a fifth of the rounds that they could because of lack of ammunition supplies. He says the artillery plays a, quote, crucial role in eliminating Russia's military power. Now, on average, Ukraine was firing 110,155 millimeter caliber, 155 millimeter shells a month. They say that a quarter of the amount that is used by Russia is being used by Ukraine right now. If we were not limited, Ukraine says, by the amount of available artillery, we could use the full ammunition set, which is almost 500,000 shells per month. This is in reference to the capacity of the artillery systems available to Ukraine. According to estimates, for a successful execution of battlefield tasks, the minimum need is 60% of the full ammunition set, or around 400,000 shells per month. So when I tell you to get more ammo, it's because in a long duration emergency, that is the first thing that goes, because people don't understand. It's not a wild west, let's all sit down and nobody's firing and then we quick draw and see who goes down first. Absolutely not. A large part of a combatant owning a battlefield is being able to lay down suppressive firepower. That means you are literally just burning through ammunition with no other consideration in mind other than keeping an objective pinned down. You're firing and firing and firing. It's the task, and a lot of times during a civil conflict, of another person. So basically, one person is picking up a rifle. They are throwing rounds down range. The person next to them, sitting in a safe position, either in a trench or behind some sort of barricade, their whole job is to prepare the next rifle and the next magazine set. They're just doing nothing but that all day, every day. You're pinning down, you're firing down, and you're wasting basically ammunition. I say waste not because it's not providing a purpose, but because its only use is to suppress the enemy combatant. So when I say you need ammunition, that's exactly what I mean. The previous holder to the presidential seat in the United States of America, Donald Trump, has put out a warning to the world that, quote, we are going to have World War III if something doesn't happen fast. Let me tell you, that's a concerning note to our entire world, because we not only simultaneously see things happening very fast, but we also see the very clear indication that World War III is already started. And what they mean, when you hear Donald Trump, when you hear Biden, when you hear Putin, when you hear all these other countries talk about World War III, what they mean is the actual governmental acknowledgement that each of the countries is engaged in nothing more than war. It means peacetime is over. The government has taken over industry, has taken over manufacturing, and there is a real risk that your government, your country, will cease to exist if your country isn't part of the winning side of that war. Right now, through the proxy war and the initial initiating stages of World War III, instead, what you have is countries saying, okay, we're going to give you ammunition, we're going to give you money, our taxpayers' money. That means your money and my money. And we're just going to funnel it through, and hopefully, we're going to make deals so that if and when you win this side of the conflict, we're going to own a piece of you. That's because the United States of America, Europe has basically said, okay, Ukraine, we acknowledge that you're the breadbasket of the world. We acknowledge you have a huge amount of lithium mines, and we know that there is a change away from oil to renewable energy, whether that's through some sort of agenda or whether that's just because we have a problem in the oil industry or just because the wars will split the Middle East from the rest of the world. They're acknowledging that they are going to get a piece of the Ukrainian pie if Ukraine wins this conflict. If not, that entire pie goes to Russia. That means it's out of the basket of the United States of America and Europe. So when Donald Trump stands up and says that we risk World War III, what they're really saying is that your entire country risks being taken over in a wartime footing. You have a job right now. If your job does not provide industry to war, your job will cease to exist. If your job does not provide an industry to war, your job will cease to exist. That will happen as soon as they acknowledge that. I want to get to another preparedness tip. This tip will talk about deciding how and whether you or not you will shelter or evacuate, and in a radiation emergency, what levels of radiation or what type of event will cause that. What I mean by this tip is you need to start making these preparations now. You need to set up, if you don't know anything about programming, you have an if and then then. So if this happens, then this happens. A program doesn't matter. It doesn't think about it. It doesn't care what happens. If this happens, if user input equals this, then this happens. It's an initiation of an action. And so you need to think about what events will initiate your action right now. If you don't, when an event does happen, there's going to be hemming and hawing. There's going to be people saying, well, it's not that bad. The normalization of the event will take over exactly what has happened. Instead, plan now because with a sound mind right now, you know what should cause you to evacuate. Is it a wildfire? Is it a local riot? Is it different things happening? You know what should cause you to get up and get out. But when it happens, when the riots are happening, you'll be like, well, maybe if it comes closer, I'll do it. Oh, maybe if the wildfire causes local officials to, cause call for an evacuation, then I'll do it. No, by the time that happens, for a lot of people, it's already too late. So make your plans right now. Initiate your triggers when they happen. I want to thank you for being here with us every single day here at Full Spectrum Survival. Make sure you join us back tomorrow for more headlines from America and from around the world, the things that you need to know. From my family to yours, please stay safe, remain vigilant, and keep watch. This week's Full Spectrum News is brought to us by each one of you, all of our members on Patreon. Make sure you check out contingencymedical.com. Use the code FSS10 to get a discount on real antibiotics by real physicians that send them off to real pharmacies. Also, check out nutrientsurvival.com/FSS for long-term food storage. The things you can throw in your backpack and go if those triggers are met. Use the code FSS15 for a discount across the entire board, but you can also get things like their meals ready to eat, called NREs, not MREs, nutrition ready to eat, and their 5-day diet resetting plan. See if it's right for you. Most of all, get ready because things are changing. Stay safe, everyone, and we hope to see you back here tomorrow.
Facebook, what's up? You're going down in a big way, I guess. Hey, if you haven't watched my interview yet, watch the interview. It was my boy's podcast, Refer the Reaper. I left the link on my page, on my Facebook page. So stop over there. Check out the interview. Do it for me. Let's see, what do we got going on?
Back in the day. The GoDaddy team's been amazing to work with. They've came to our facility plenty of times, gave us some talking points on like what's going on with their new innovations, and they've really kept us up to date and really transparent about what's going on with the company.
Product development, stuff like that.
Exactly.
So Ryan, what about environmental parameters in here? This is week 9, you said, right?
Yeah.
CO2 is around 1,500 parts per million. What about some of the other ones?
So you'll see the relative humidity in here. It feels pretty comfortable. So looking at the plus 506 that we have throughout the whole room, they're actually pretty good at holding the humidity. They're energy efficient. Even during a feeding, I'm able to stabilize my humidity relatively well compared to the other competitor brands out there.
So Ryan, you grow here at Steezy. I love asking people what are some of the favorite strains that you've smoked and grown?
Me personally, I'm a big fan of the Blue Burst. The second one I'll probably pick is the Sour Apple. As a smoker, I'm actually one of those kinds that I'll smoke it and I'll go straight to sleep. So I'm a nighttime smoker. That Blue Burst has got the highest THC content, I'd say, out of our brands. So that one just puts me out.
Nice. How high is THC on that thing?
I've grown it to be as high as 40% testing back with THC.
Dude, that is nuts. So Ryan, you guys pay attention to so much data in these facilities that I know you literally have someone, CJ, sitting in front of a computer looking at analytics all day long.
Screens all over the place.
Okay, let's go see where CJ's at.
Right on.
Cool. Back to you. So CJ, I was just hanging out with Ryan, and he's like, "Man, we have an analytics team. You should touch base with CJ." And I'm like, "Okay, this is pretty rad because I filmed a lot of Candy Crips episodes, and I don't think we've ever filmed an analytics specific scene. So, mad props, and tell us a little about what your role is here and what you do."
And I basically just am an eagle eye for our operations. I'm able every day to look at all the different things that go on in our rooms on a day-to-day basis, from anytime that the lights are on, anytime that the lights are off. I can basically check anything from the room, that all the relationships that come into play, whether it's the water content that go into our slab, the salts and everything in those said slabs, the substrate temps of the slab, even going to the temperatures and the parameters of the rooms, whether that's the temperatures, the room humidity, and the BDP of how those two correlate with the plants. And I'm able to take all of that information, good, bad, and indifferent, and I'm able to pair it with our grows all throughout the entire cycle. So we're able to take all of that information and use it to better our yields.
And I think this is really cool because I almost, it reminds me of Wall Street. They have all these computers up here with all these numbers, and it's like you're doing that with cannabis. So man, thanks for showing us what you do.
Sure, it was a pleasure having you. Thanks for stopping by.
So I'm here with my two Seans, my Sean from Steezy and my Sean from DeVito Designs, which I understand that you guys are really good friends, work together in a lot of cool stuff, kind of rooms like this.
Yep.
Sean, what does DeVito Designs do, first off, for those people who don't know?
Yes, so we are a fertigation irrigation design company. So we take your floor plans and put them into 3D models and completely design your fertigation irrigation system from the very start where your source water is held all the way to the drippers on the table. Once that 3D model is built, we explode that all out into exploded diagrams. We break it down to how long you need to cut every section of pipe. Give you a full parts list on every single fitting, tank, valve, injector, length of pipe that you need to build out this entire facility. Another great thing that we helped them design, he designed it, we put it on paper for him, is what we call the Insulterator, which is a commercial sink that uses a large garbage disposal and circulates and breaks down the salts and turns it into a soluble form so you can fill your stock tanks quickly with that. I mean, it's as fast as dumping a 25-pound bag of salt in and it's eaten up in a heartbeat.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say this is probably like the coolest fertigation room I've been in. This place is like a jungle gym, dude. I feel like I'm back at like Chuck E. Cheese when I was like 6 years old, ready to jump through this stuff. This is fucking dope. You guys did a great job on this. Mad props. Preston, my man. So they told me to meet up with you in the trim room because you know about a lot of things going on at Stizzy, including the operations here. So what's your role here at the Stizzy facility?
I'm one of the VP of operations here. I'm kind of more focused on the business aspect of it. So I handle everything kind of infrastructure.
Got it. So did you get your start in cannabis or did you come from somewhere else and into the cannabis industry?
I got 12 years of construction, concrete, asphalt, logistics, but I've always had a leg in the cannabis space. It's always been of interest to me. I met my mentor, friend, boss, senior VP here, Sean. When we met, he's like, I'm looking for a guy that can do operations, that's handled large scale jobs, a logistics guy. And I was like, oh, well, that's exactly what I am.
So Preston, we're here in the trimming room, and I think we're going to be chatting about, you guys chopping down, drying, trimming, and curing, and what those kind of standard operating procedures are here at Stizzy to get best flower you possibly can to market. So where do we start?
In a room after it's finished, maybe a 10-week cycle here, we'll send in a harvest crew. Now, harvest crew will come in. Each plant is weighed individually. We take all the wet weight content, and that stuff gets wheeled into one of our dry rooms. Our dry rooms have the vertical racks that we've created in there. So we'll actually put all the plants on those trellises and we'll raise them to the top of the team. We have those rooms outfitted with HVAC systems. We got some Quest 225 units in there that handles all our dehumidification processes. As it comes out of the dry room space, we have trim manager, trim assistant in here. They're going to be handling all the plants. All the trimmers are working on culture trays. The way that we compartmentalize this is, we dish out 4 to 5 branches, and trimmer's going to sit down. Trim manager's going to come over, pick out 4 or 5 branches for the folks to work on. When the trimmer brings it back to the manager, they're going to QC the product.
Got it. And you said 4 to 5 branches for like QC purposes. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So again, if you hand a trimmer maybe 5 or 6 branches at a time, they're going to just move through that too quickly. And often we see that a lot of shaving takes place. What I mean by shaving is you get those scissors way too close to the bud.
What's crazy? It's like you guys are like the #1 brand in California, and you're like slowing down your trimmers for quality.
Yeah.
Which mad respect for that. Most people are like, how can I trim it as fast as possible? You're like, no, let me slow him down so that he makes sure that they get it right.
And I appreciate the compliment. This product is landing into our premium line, right? If we don't have all these QC practices in place, then our consumers are not going to like it.
First trimming, buds still got to cure.
That's right. From the trim room, we'll push it over to the we break everything down into
just like you want. You want a divorce? You got it. Bring your bitch ass home. I'm divorcing you.
Somebody that's going to go in there daily and check the moisture content. What we'd like to do is target anywhere from 9 to 12% on that moisture content. What we're trying to do is give distribution an ample amount of time with moisture inside this product. So by the time it hits the jar, it's still very fresh for the consumer.
Preston, mad respect, man.
I appreciate that, man. Thanks for all the love.
Chad just signed up to compete in the Arizona Earl Cup and is cultivating his top genetics for submission. But the competition is fierce this year, and he needs a competitive edge. That's why Chad partnered with Growers House Protein to have the Candy Cribs knowledge applied to his operation. GrowersHouse.com. Find the link below for a commercial account and unleash your fire. So Rachel, first off, why don't we just chat about like what led you to being plant manager of Stizzy? Like, how'd you get here?
Well, I have a background in Six Sigma, lean processes, had some interaction with some of the owners. So they asked me to come along and see if I can join the team. And the rest is history.
I don't think a lot of people know this. You guys are #1 in California by volume.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, and it's like the #1 state in the country.
We're very proud of those numbers, but it took some work to get there, and we're just going to continue to grow.
Well, let's talk about all the products that Stizzy makes. Let's go through them all.
At this facility, we make pods, half gram, full gram. We make disposables. We make extracts, live rosin, diamonds, jam. We also make eighths. We make pre rolls and we make fillets.
Nice. What about on the edible side?
We have a triangle package, a 3-pack of edibles, right?
And how many different flavors?
8 different flavors. My favorite is the watermelon.
Watermelonsy?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
You
cool.
gotta
Good
try
to
it.
know. And I think you guys are also like using recycled packaging, which is pretty cool because there's a lot of packaging that goes into it.
There is a lot of packaging. We try to do our best to keep our natural footprint down. It is a large operation, but we are dealing with flour and that's natural.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like, you know, your warehouse, I don't think I've ever seen a cannabis operation as a warehouse that looks like a distribution center.
The amount of
It
volume
is
that
what it
we
is.
process out, especially because we are the number one
Give a
cannabis
fuck.
company, is
I
quite
don't
large.
argue with
Our
nobody.
distribution partners are very, very busy.
So Rachel, how many pallets come out of here a day?
Well, that's also a secret.
Okay, Rachel. So I think the next step is me heading to retail.
Let's head on over. It's a beautiful experience. Nice, large store.
Cool. Well, I'm gonna get lost on the way there because this place is a maze. So how about you show me?
Okay, let's go.
Damn. So this is literally bar none the most impressive